Hello, and welcome to episode 53.5. This week we'll be covering M.O.D.O.K again, Bad Batch again, Vox Machina Season 2 again. We'll be covering the DC Slate, as well as some Nerd News Network shenanigans before closing out with Lex Luthor versus Killer Croc. Before all that, though, Hori, how's your week been?
It was going fine until about less than an hour ago. Or until 5 minutes ago, to be honest. For those of you who aren't picking up on it, with Connor saying again, this is our second time recording this, because OBS, 6 minutes into the podcast, just stopped recording, and I only noticed, an hour in to us talking?
We entered our flow state and didn't realise that OBS had shit the bed.
And I
so
just
Hori's eyes are probably going to be locked onto one particular thing for the rest of this podcast.
I look down and I see we're not recording anymore, and my heart
died.
I was like, please tell me that's like 5 minutes that's happened. No, it was like an hour ago. So yeah, my week was going okay. My week's crazy week of work and then fun week of gaming. I've been obsessed with Destiny 2. All this stuff we've talked about already.
Yeah, it just feels weird to rehash
it. Really does.
We've played Hori. We got Hori to stream twice in a week for the first time since probably last July, August.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've
because he's teaching me the ways of Tarkov. And I'm dreaming of playing Tarkov Tetris, which is just not good, but it is what it is.
It's the way of Tarkov. You realize now you are now playing the real game of Escape from Tarkov, which is trying to quit the game.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, been teaching you Tarkov. I played Valorant for the first time with this episode act, so that was shenanigans.
It was.
And I've been playing a fuck ton of Destiny 2, as well as doing rush jobs at work and dealing with the craziness of Twitter and work and the world of esports and gaming and drama and keeping myself to my little designer bubble.
Do you know what it is? Every once in a while I'm just like, I should really just stop using Twitter because there's just always constant drama. But at the same time, there are days on Twitter I'm just like, you know what? I'm glad I had Twitter today.
Yeah, it's like...
And don't get me wrong, them days aren't often enough to warrant keeping it, but it's enough to make me second guess getting rid of it.
I know what you mean. Most of the time my Twitter keeps off drama stuff pretty well. But yeah, just some closer to home drama, and keeping myself to my little bubble.
Yeah, you should go draw his pretty pictures and do his thing.
Exactly. So, how was your week? Not that
it was good.
Definitely not heard this.
I finally paid off my car. Woo.
Big pog.
So like when I got my first big boy job, after finishing education as an apprentice, I was driving like 50 miles a day round trip in a fucking 2002 Nissan Micra. So after it would have been like 4 or 5 months working there, it literally died on the way home one day. And when I say died, I mean I'm doing 70 miles an hour and I could no longer change gear.
Tasty.
While doing 70.
Just what you love.
So fortunately I was basically home at that point. I managed to surprisingly safely, I'm not just saying I did it safely because this is on the internet, genuinely surprisingly safely managed to get myself home. As I got on my driveway, the car stalled and literally never started again. So the car died getting me home safely, which is the best I can say about it. So then at like 19 years old, I had to go out and buy a car that was potentially going to have to handle 15,000 plus miles a year for a number of years. Little did I know fucking COVID was around the corner.
True.
So it only ended up doing like a year of that, but still. But yeah, so I finally paid that off now, which feels amazing. And I'm definitely not doing any mods to the car in exchange for subscribers.
The first time around, I suggested for 1,000 subscribers, Connor should livery his car in cutscene company. You know, like those classic work cars when it's just plastered with like their website and logo and stuff. Just the worst design. Not a cool looking design. I think we should do that to your car because I don't have a car, so I'm dodging the bullet.
I'll just find a worse punishment for you down the line. You have
I'll.
to dye your beer 50% red, 50% blue.
You think that's a bad thing?
You'd make it work, you hipster fuck.
Yeah.
Let's get into the character profile.
Yeah, let's get back into this.
Yeah. We'll hit our flow state again pretty soon.
Yeah, we will.
So this week, in honor of Ant-Man just being 2 weeks away, I decided we better get cracking with some Ant-Man related character profiles. Starting off with one of my favourite and most exciting characters that we're going to meet in this film, M.O.D.O.K. So M.O.D.O.K was originally George Tarleton. After being experimented on, he became M.O.D.O.K, which stands for Mental Organism Designed Only for Killing. He first appeared in Tales of Suspense number 94 back in June 1967. And it's interesting because originally he was just a lower level technician for AIM, the Advanced Ideas Mechanics.
Right.
But what ended up happening is because they don't give a fuck about anyone, they did experiments on him. And these experiments made him superhuman intelligent, with the side effect of it literally causing his head to swell to the point where his body could no longer support him at all. So they had to design the Doomsday Chair, which doubled up as life support, but also essentially like a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So that he can move around.
Fully encapsulates him.
Yeah. So like it kind of looks in all of the designs like a crown almost, because of the way it sits. If you actually look at the designs, you can see his legs and arms normally wiggling about. And as a result of that superior intellect and the experiments, he also developed psychic powers because his mind was so powerful now. And he kind of went crazy with all this newfound power. And it led to him wanting to kind of be the big boss man, because I'm super smart now, so everything I think is right. So he used his newfound powers and intelligence to take over AIM and become their scientist supreme.
Scientist supreme.
That's literally what they call the head of AIM. Yeah, they're the scientist supreme. So the previous scientist supreme is who did the experiments on George to turn him into M.O.D.O.K. And ever since M.O.D.O.K took over AIM, they've been a thorn in the side of primarily the Avengers and Iron Man as like tech-based heroes and the big team up. But he's had issues with characters like the Hulk and that. Normally, he's either trying to commit heists to fund his science, or he's trying to use his science to take over the world. It's kind of one of these two things. And then occasionally I'll have like interactions with the Hulk and stuff where he's trying to get like Hulk DNA, because obviously that would be huge for his science.
Well, yeah. Trying to get the exclusive stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It will be interesting to see how he's handled in Ant-Man, purely because of the changes that the character is inherently facing. So we know from the trailer that it's going to be Darren Cross, or Yellow Jacket as he was known in the original Ant-Man film. So that's obviously a change to who the character is, and we get the impression that
the theory,
the head being large is more because he didn't shrink proportionately into the quantum realm.
Yeah, because the last time we saw him, he got crumpled.
And he got crumpled at different bits as well.
Yeah, so the theory I think everyone's running with is that he ended up in the quantum realm and his body got all kind of jumbled up and irregular because of that.
Yeah. Which, don't get me wrong, makes a bit more sense for it visually.
Yeah.
But as long as the character, other than that, is pretty much the same, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue.
No, and I think it allows them to tie him into the story in a good way as well.
Yes. The big thing for me is they need to get him out of the quantum realm without dying, so that we can have M.O.D.O.K in the main world causing havoc.
Yeah, I think I will like to think that there's going to be, he's obviously there, some sort of involvement with Kang, We know that Kang is trying to escape the quantum realm. So I feel like there's going to be some collective, whether Kang takes M.O.D.O.K with him to escape, or whether like Ant-Man and all that get out and take M.O.D.O.K with them. There's going to be some group escape. And I would like to think that M.O.D.O.K's involved in that. And then we can have him.
If they do keep
logging out.
M.O.D.O.K being superhuman intelligent, they could go for the route of Ant-Man, say, beats this variant of Kang, and he feels bad for Darren Cross being stuck in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
And Cross is like, I've been a slave this whole time. I just want to come back to Earth and just try and be normal again. And then maybe like because he's so smart, he manages to trick Scott into bringing him back.
Well, yeah,
At
we
which
also
point
know
he runs off into the shadows and becomes a problem later down the line.
Scott is a more down to earth person, and like,
yeah,
you can definitely see him feeling bad and thinking, okay, he is actually going to try and be a better person coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was all just a trick to get out of the quantum realm. I do think that's a potential. And obviously, hopefully, they've learned from Taskmaster in how to deal with a character and not make like. I'd like to think they learned from the uproar of the fans that they need to be more careful with these.
You can change a character, but don't change what makes the character the character.
Yes, exactly. And then obviously we've got the VFX. Hopefully they nail that so it's not too uncanny valley. Obviously M.O.D.O.K is inherently weird looking.
He's a goofy looking guy, straight up. You almost need to steer into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like for like his head, not his headset, for his chair and that, you need to go full in on the like corny gold, like the cheap jewelry looking gold.
Yeah.
And just go, we'll make it really comic book accurate, because at least then they can't complain about that.
That's a good
point. And they can go, yeah, it looks weird, but at least it's accurate.
I think they could go very comic book accurate, just like more detail, because obviously it's CGI, but it definitely needs to lean into it. And as long as there isn't any weird, because obviously how they're going to be doing it is like face cut out, probably, to put it in there.
Yeah.
As long as the VFX don't have any issues and there's not too much uncanny valley, I think people will get used to it and kind of accept this is M.O.D.O.K.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird to look at, but I would hope that they've made a pretty strong priority to get it right, because otherwise, if that looks off, then it's going to kind of screw with the whole feel of the film.
100%. But let's get into Bad Batch episode 6.
Yes.
We got some Wookiees. We got Kashyyyk. It was fun. I enjoyed greatly.
Jedi.
Yeah. Fucking sick.
We got the gang all back together doing.
Yeah. After a couple of episodes of a little bit of Splitsville.
Yeah, and a bit of side story.
Yeah, we got a bit of what felt more like a main story. We got to see Gungi again for the first time since one of my favorite episodes from the Clone Wars.
Yes. Since he was a little youngling.
Yeah. It was really good. It was really cool to see Kashyyyk again.
Yeah, and see more of Kashyyyk, because our experience from Kashyyyk has been slight little bit in the live action.
Don't forget the Star Wars Holiday Special, please.
The Star Wars Holiday Special, which I wish wasn't something in my memory. And then the only other that I know of is from Jedi Fallen Order, the game.
Yeah.
We've not really seen much of the Wookiee culture. We've seen little bits here and there, but never too much. We know obviously from the films and the show that like it becomes just a mining, like gets mined for resources and gets screwed.
Yeah.
So this is more early days, but we get to see the Bad Batch, some station run by Atlas droids, and it's basically a black market.
Yeah, they're trying to sell chain codes.
Yes, faked chain codes.
Yeah. Tech being a little counterfeiter, selling some fake chain codes.
And probably just to make some money for themselves. Probably less of a Sid job, more just a Sid recommend, oh, you could go do this and make some money.
Yeah. We've got people looking for chain codes. Do you want in?
Yeah. While they're being checked, classic Omega gets restless, can't help herself.
That girl is always finding problems.
Honestly,
I love it.
the bad, like, this might sound mean, but the Bad Batch would be paid off Sid, quietly under the radar, probably made bank and got out if it wasn't for Omega.
Go living on some farm.
Yeah, they would have been quietly away
They
from
would have been
everything.
worse people.
True, they wouldn't be helping all these people, but yeah, it's Omega definitely seems to be causing the shenanigans, which is, I mean, that's kids for you.
100%.
She senses something going on, goes snooping around a black market space station, which
is ballsy as fuck. You
Yeah,
can tell
like,
that you can tell that's Jango Fett's DNA.
yeah, and I mean, it's like you're gonna find like all sorts. So she comes across a little kid Wookiee being poked, prodded, captured clearly. Buys him a bit of distraction for fight, whips out a lightsaber, shows himself to be a Jedi. But for those that watched the trailer for this season, knew Gungi was back. So as soon as we heard the Wookiee noises and stuff, like, we knew this was going to be Gungi.
Yeah.
And then we
Still
got
one of my favorite lightsaber designs with like
the more
wooden
natural,
handle.
yeah.
So good.
Such a cool like take on it. So yeah, we get a bit of a fight, bit of a run, like standoff between the Bad Batch and this black market droids.
Narrowly escape to the ship just in time.
Yeah, and then we get a bit of interactions between like Gungi being apprehensive about the Bad Batch because obviously the clones and Order 66.
He was not keen to see clones after what he's been through for the last however long.
And quite clear he's been on the run and trying to keep his head down. So obviously it was apprehensive, but the fact that Omega helped him, I think, obviously, and they were willing to help him get back to Kashyyyk because that's all he knew was to try and get home. So they help him get home. They arrive on a planet. We get to see that there's some some Empire activities there. They mention it. They're being careful.
I think it's the first time we really see the Bad Batch, even though it's still like kind of by accident, engaging in proper rebellion activity.
Yeah, this is like the start of them doing basically doing a job that isn't for their gain. They're just trying to help someone against what is the Empire what they would be doing.
Against what's in their own best interest and what will leave them in a better position.
Yeah.
They're risking a lot for literally no gain other than getting someone home.
So they come across, I forget what the lizard guys are called, their race.
I do forget that race. The only thing we've ever, like, before more extended Star Wars universe was one of the bounty hunters was that race.
And Bosk, we saw them in Clone Wars.
Yes.
Being like bounty hunters as well then. So they're like hunting Wookiees. Are they known to hunt Wookiees, I think? And like hunt animals and creatures. So they see Wookiees as just creatures. So some of them burn in some like sacred ground and stuff. So
burning the forest down. They
have a shootout. Gungi fucking whips out the lightsaber, which is risky maneuver. Leaves. They clear that, move on, hide. End up going to find some other Wookiees and what remains of a camp or tribe, one of the many tribes on Kashyyyk. But then also
find like the main settlement of the Wookiees at the minute.
So gets to like be reunited with his kind. Meanwhile, clones and lizard guys working together come across obviously the destroyed tank and notice Jedi marks, and the leader guy offers 10 Wookiee pelts.
100
Wookiee pelts, sorry, to whoever finds the Jedi. Knowing that a Jedi would be worth a pretty penny if he turned it over to the Empire.
Especially bearing in mind they're already working for the Empire as like fascist contractors.
they can be like, oh, look what we've caught for you. I'll take my payment, please. So they obviously come hunting for them. Bad Batch are like, you know what? No, we're not going to leave you. We're going to be good people and stay. And actually help them. And like you said, doing some rebel activity. We got a bit of a fight scene. Pretty fun. We got to see lots of creatures.
Yeah.
And then
The creepy forest giant spider things.
Yeah.
I've not been that creeped out by a spider thing since when I was like 6 years old, seeing Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets in cinema.
My brain went to Lord of the Rings, you know, with the...
Well, you're like 90 years older than me.
Okay.
But the background for that. The first ever film I saw in cinema was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And sat directly behind me was my uncle. And as the spider is coming out for the big reveal, bearing in mind at this point, I'm so young, I haven't read the books yet. My uncle just leans in front of me and goes, "Spider's going to get you," right in my ear.
Oh, love it.
Popcorn everywhere, floods of tears, not having a good time anymore.
I actually think the first film that I can remember seeing in the cinema
Charlie Chaplin.
No. Jeez. Just an attack. No, is Philosopher's Stone.
Oh, really?
I saw the first Harry Potter in the cinema. And I also hadn't, and I still haven't read any of the books.
You've never read the books?
No.
That's wild.
My sister read them all.
That really hurts your nerd cred.
Does it though? Because I've read Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I'm
just
not
my
sure if
age.
you're allowed to go out and buy the Harry Potter books to read them now, though.
Yeah, but I wouldn't because I don't want to support.
Yeah, no, that's my point. I just don't know if you're allowed to.
No. But anyway, back to Bad Batch. Yeah, we got some creepy spider. We got to see the main bad guy, like the leader of the lizard guys, brutally gets just like wrapped up and taken alive by these spiders. Meanwhile, Gungi and Omega are just like, yeah, cool.
They're showing and like I said in take one, they're literally having this conversation. You see him getting pulled up in the background, still screaming out for help. I'm just like, that just feels a bit much.
Yeah, you were like
giving us a different angle so that we can't see or hear him.
It's like, I thought this was a kids animated show. This feels more like an adult animated show. Like this is brutal.
Did not make me feel any better about spiders.
No, I can imagine.
And arachnid-esque creatures.
But yeah, they leave Gungi, and then I think it'd be interesting if we'll get more Jedis rock up. I think this worked really well because obviously we knew Gungi, we'd seen him before.
There's 16 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm okay for us to have maybe 2 more Jedis.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice amount so we still get all our lightsaber fun. Not so much that it feels like it's just a way to shoehorn Jedis in. And also, I feel like with 3, there's not that many ways you can have a different interaction between Jedi and clones.
Yeah.
So I think 3 probably gives you the right amount of different ways that conversation can go.
I think we're going to have, like you say, another couple I think would be good. I think we'll get one where they're going to connect with Captain Rex or something.
Yeah.
And then maybe Ahsoka is mentioned, or we get to see Ahsoka and she has that understanding of clones that aren't affected by it, obviously.
Yeah.
I think we'll get that thing where it's like they're helping a Jedi. Like Ahsoka or something, like they're helping with their cause, the rebel cause. I think then there'll be, after that, we might get one where they come across a Jedi and they're like, oh, we know where we can help you go, where you're going to be safe. We'll take it to this Jedi to...
And I won't be surprised if that potential like Ahsoka story theoretically would potentially be one of the double episodes, because we've got 2 double episodes, I think.
Yes. Midway
left.
Through and at the end.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it ended up being one of them.
Yeah. I would agree.
But it'll be interesting to see where we go. I'm enjoying the series so far.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're back on
proper
episodes, not side episodes, if that makes sense.
It feels more focused, and it definitely showed in the quality. And it was just nice to have a bit of lightsaber action again.
Yeah, it really was.
Little and often, I think, is the best way to go.
Yeah, I think also it being a youngling, not youngling, but like a younger Jedi, made it a bit like we didn't have to. We weren't expecting anything crazy lightsaber wise, but like we
Yeah,
got to see like some enough that like he can defend himself, and it's like we got to see a bit of a fun interaction.
yeah,
Uh,
agreed.
but yeah, good episode.
Week 2 of Vox Machina.
Yes, another 3
Fucking,
episodes for us.
this is very quickly
Oh
becoming one of my favorite animated shows,
yes, now I love
and
that.
I think what we need to do
Oh
is get the boys in for an online D&D session, and
good.
we just stream our POVs, and we do it every fortnight on like a Sunday or whatever. Football season, American football season's over now, so most people will have Sundays free again.
Um, we could see who wants to do D&D. I'm like, I love D&D.
It'll be a proper noob run because I think only you and West have done it before.
Well, yeah, but that's
And like me, Josh, and Luke, and anyone else who might want to do it would be pretty newbie with it. So we can just like it can be just pure shenanigans. And there's based on my limited understanding, there's like loads of really good online websites that give you everything you
yeah.
need
I
to do
mean,
to do it online.
oh yeah. There's like because I play D&D weekly and we do it all online. So there's plenty of stuff there. And to be honest, with that group, like we can always just run a one shot and
Yeah,
introduce everyone to
exactly,
it. But
exactly.
Vox Machina is I'm so like it for someone who watched the live shows and getting to see more and more of this become anime. It's like it's so fun seeing it converted over. And obviously, we ended the first 3 episodes. Episode 3 ended with Vex dying to the tomb, which, for context as to why she died straight off, it was because she crit failed on her death saving. So, death saving, you get 3 attempts to roll. Well, if you get 3 fails, so roll under a 10, you're dead. 3 successes, you're alive again. If you get a crit fail, you get 2 failures. So she'd failed, got a crit fail, and then double failed. So then that was her dead before she even had chance to do anything.
Just it shocked me last week, and I was like, oh shit, that was a
Yeah,
surprise. Which I mean, I said last week.
you thought there
That's
was going to be a
why
new
I think
character.
this is why I thought it's so good because it feels so organic.
Mm.
Because you can't script someone rolling really badly and dying out of fucking nowhere.
Well, yeah, like
So like a story writer might never make a character die there because it makes no sense, but they're taken from the game that happened the way it happened. We don't have a choice but to kill this character off.
exactly. Like it's one of those where someone writing this from scratch with no like nothing they're working with, you're unlikely to kill off a main character right there. This is a character
Yeah.
that you know
Episode
is
3 of the second season. What?
yeah, so this ain't no Game of Thrones. Like they're not gonna just kill off to exactly that. Like the live show plays into some great moments.
um, so I'm gonna talk through my mindset as we
Mm-hmm.
see the shithousery of what ensued.
Yes.
So obviously we're led to believe she's dead, and she is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then our two
Zara and Cash.
our two friends rock back up, and Cash is like, "Oh, I can do this revival spell, but we need to be quick."
Yep.
So they try and do that, and I'm like, "Okay, cool. Let's see how this goes." Then we get to see Vax is like in a bit of a trance. He sees the Raven Queen. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, "This is fucking terrible. Take me, leave her alone."
Yep.
We see the spell bubble going around Vex to show that they're trying to heal her, and she like pierces the bubble and it breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh shit, Vex is dead. That's not good. Then her spirit comes out of her body, and Vax is like, no, fuck you, leave my sister alone, take me.
Mm-hmm.
And then she cuts the string, and I'm like, oh, like Vex is dead, dead. And then Vex wakes up, and I'm bare confused. For a second, I'm like, okay, so the string's been cut. Oh, is the Raven Queen like inhabited her body? That'd be fucking wild.
Mm.
And then it cuts over to Vax, and I'm like, oh shit, is Vax dead? Did she actually take him? And then he's like just in new armor, looking a bit confused. So he might have just sold his soul to D&D Devil. Is the kind of vibe.
Yes, And no, I mean technically no, because D&D Devil is like like that would be a much worse deal. Uh, the Raven Queen is the goddess of death, so there is a certain essence of the deal. There was definitely a deal made, whether characters knew they'd made a deal
It was a
or
bad faith deal, and I'm sure if he got a good lawyer, he could get out of it.
don't know about that one.
I didn't sign anything.
So yeah, to put it in terms of like what happened alongside like the live show, Revivify spell is something that has to be done within 1 minute of the character being dead. So that's why they got to do it quick. They're currently in the Raven Queen Temple, so the temple of the goddess of death, like the strongest death essence area of the material plane that you could probably have. So a Revivify spell is basically impossible because you in Death's house. You ain't stopping someone dying in Death's house. Which is the whole bubble.
I imagine though.
Yeah. So that's what the visualization of the bubble is. It's like the spell and then the Raven Queen's piercing it to basically be like, no, this ain't happening. The tether is, I think, their way of showing the connection that Vex and Vax have because they're twins. That's why they're like tethered to each other. And Vax in the live show makes this comment of like, no, take me. And Vex wakes up. The party, from the party's perspective and the character's perspective, the spell worked. Vex woke up because no one saw what Vax saw. No one, like Vax shouting out to the Raven Queen wasn't IRL, like that was in his vision that he was seeing. Like, so no one heard that. None of that happened. He would just be sat there in a trance. He essentially has made seemingly some deal with the Raven Queen, whether he believes he has or not. Whether that comes to fruition or not, we'll have to wait and see. But you're definitely on the right track in thinking, oh shit, this man sold his soul to the devil. Less sold his soul to the devil, more locked his soul into a predetermined exit at some point, shall we say. He's on a timed contract now. So yeah, they make the spell work and then Vex is alive. No new character has to be rolled. We're cool. The twins live on. And then as they're trying to leave, Zara does another sly thing, trying to get the vestige off them by summoning a totally not identical or related in any way to a D&D official beholder. This is something totally different, legally speaking.
Just a big eye thing with tentacles.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely may or may not
Everyone
have
has
been
a big eye thing with
in the live
tentacles.
show. But yeah, for like in this animated, not beholder in the live show it was, but it makes no difference. Big creature. But we saw it come from a Pokeball, as I like to call it. And I think even the group called it a Pokeball.
I mean, it's the only kind of common pop culture thing that does that kind of thing. So like, it's an easy way for everyone to know what the thing does. Yeah, 100%.
So this gives us an opportunity to watch kind of Vax go full ham and show off his new gear, of which they've kind of blended a few of his things, like his boots of haste. He has like a blink dagger and the vestige all kind of gets blended into this idea of like this glowing armor that means he can do some fucking mad shit. And he can double dash,
hair through people.
There was a joke because he's a rogue, like he could just go dagger dagger dagger, and like it was just constant dagger attacks with sneak. Like he did mad damage. So yeah, we get to see him like do some like very very well animated fight.
Well, he's like the champion of death now. He's pretty fucking good at delivering death.
Yeah. And he fucking goes off. And then obviously Zara and Cash feel bad, so they make up for it and gives Vex the Pokeball for Trinket, which is basically Matt's way of being like, here was an item.
You can't have a super powerful bear at all times.
Well, no, it was actually because the bear wasn't that strong health-wise. So the issue they were having is like, Vex would not want to use Trinket in a fight in case he died, because no one wants their little companion animal to die, because that's sad. It's like having a dog and being like, no, I don't want the dog to fight. I don't want the dog to die.
Not Toto.
Yeah, so it's like It was a way for Matt to give her away to keep the bear safe if needs be.
Trinket, I choose you.
Literally. Um, and then that episode ends with a woman watching them, scrying on them, called
Mm.
Anna Ripley, as we learn a little bit later on in the 3 episodes. But Anna Ripley, link there is we saw when Percy went to get black powder from, I forget the crazy guy's name, it's out of my head.
The Mr. Blowy stuff up
Yeah,
guy.
he mentioned that a woman had been by and bought some recently, that it was Anna Ripley. So she will start to play a bigger part now that we've been introduced to her. And then episode 2 was Keyleth's Aramente, mainly.
Yes.
We saw a
The
flashback.
second episode of this 3, although all 3 were fucking brilliant, just to be clear, might have been my favorite because I felt so far I'd had like Keyleth got the smallest amount of fucks given from me.
I
Don't get
get
me
you.
wrong, they're doing a good job of making all of the characters likable, and I do care about all of them. But there is always going to be a character that you care about the least. And for me, at that up until then, it was Keyleth.
Do you know what's funny? You saying that, rightly or wrongly so, in a way, mirrored how the Critical Role community kind of felt towards Keyleth's character. Because her character was very naive, always wanted to try and do the best, but was a bit like, you see it, like her character was a bit scared to do things, was kind of
Scared of
avoiding
literally anything.
avoiding responsibility, and just, but then was a bit naive to things and stuff. And often she would play a character like that and obviously make suggestions that kind of, from an outside perspective, like, what a dumb idea that is. Or like, so her character actually got some hate, not from like proper fans, but you know what it's like with any sort
People
of show.
who were just too invested and going a bit parasocial with
Yeah, yes, exactly.
it.
So it's weird that like they've managed to kind of actually in a way sell that in the show to then do this episode, which suddenly locks everyone a lot more into, oh shit, this is Keyleth's character.
Do you know what I found really funny about that though?
Go on.
Because Keyleth then shot up in Who I Gave a Fuck About, Scanlan was at the bottom.
Oh, and
And then the
fixed,
very next episode.
they fixed that.
Yeah.
Which this
Yeah,
this comes down
perfect.
to, it's also Matt's way of like making sure all the characters were getting their story arcs like in tandem of stuff going on. But yeah, we saw a flashback of when Keyleth was a kid, and a mum going off on our Aramente and showing the elements, and like very much so is this is Avatar: The Last Airbender going on his like got to train all the elements thing. That is very much where this came from. Keyleth, Marisha has said like that was a big inspiration to the character's backstory. And fun fact, Keyleth's mum's voice actor was also the voice actor for Korra in Legend of Korra. So
Which
really,
is fucking awesome, bearing in mind like how obvious
yes,
of a Avatar inspiration there is.
like I guarantee they've purposefully like they've got to this point gone, we want the person who voice acts Keyleth's mum to, that we need to have some actual connection to the Avatar there. Like purposefully have gone to her and got her to do it. And then Sam Riegel,
and also, let's not forget them Amazon checks clear, so they can get whoever the fuck they want.
That's true. That's very true. And then also, fun fact: Sam Riegel's kid plays Kid Keyleth, so that's a fun little keeping it in the family sort of thing. And yeah, so we got to see Keyleth essentially doing part of her Aramente by going to help the Fire Nation, who in this sense are not evil.
Yeah, they did not attack in this world.
No, they protect. They do not attack, they just protect. But we saw some pretty cool moments. We got to know that the 2 women who we thought died in the city, I forgot their names, have gone straight out of my head.
Mira and someone else.
They're alive, they escaped. They explain this is where Fordak came from.
Rosa. Sorry.
This is where Fordak came from, and then they tried to like banish him there, and it's all gone wrong. So Keyleth goes through a really cool
I've got to be honest, in a lot of these fantasy worlds, they try really hard to banish people and it never works. They just need to get to killing.
Yeah. But I think it's like Fordak is a powerful dragon. It's that idea that like the idea is your average even hero can't beat them, so we banish him then. We do the next best thing. But I like they showed some of that, and then we got to see a fun scene as well also went on. Meanwhile, in this episode, we got some more Grog with his sword. And last week I was talking about
so fucking funny.
there's some funny moments that are going to come up with the sword. This was one of them where Grog goes for a shit in quotation marks and actually wanted to go speak to the sword, and obviously does this in live show, and it's like Sam's character comes along to go check on him and finds him talking to himself. Which from the outside is like, you're talking to your shit, and then Grog plays it off as like, yeah. I'm just dominating my poop.
Yeah, just let my shit know who's boss. It's so dumb, and I have to give so much respect for the person who played Grog, because to act so much dumber than you are is difficult.
Oh,
the only thing more difficult is acting smarter than you are.
Yes, acting like a highly intelligent.
But acting that dumb. And like making just objectively bad decisions, because my character's a dumbass. Yes. He wouldn't do the smart thing here. Must be it's a whole new level of throwing for content.
Yeah, it really is.
Because like a smart character would go, "Hey guys, my sword keeps telling me it's hungry."
Yeah, whereas this guy's
I am concerned.
This big, powerful sword talking to me, but make me stronger, so I don't want to tell anyone, because he knows they'll take it off him. Yeah. And his characters wouldn't want that.
He's like a naughty child.
Yeah, no, literally, that's like the biggest. He's like a child. He's like a little kid who's got this thing that he knows his parents would say no to, but he's hiding it. So we got that funny scene, and we also got the broom revealed, which was one of the items stolen from.
Not stolen from, given from.
Well, given, stolen. It's kind of memed in the live show that they stole it.
The shopkeeper kind of said, "Take what you want." It's all been destroyed anyway.
For the animated, and I think in the show it's a bit more like they just take it, and it's less like verbally said. The funny thing is, there was so the bit of the campaign that they were doing before it became a live show, they used to have a flying carpet that was very strong because multiple people could sit on it.
Yeah.
And Matt found a way to burn it in fire.
Like shit in the bud.
Yeah, he found a way to get rid of that thing. This was his way of letting them fly. One of the characters fly again, who could not fly, and is adds a bit more like fun into it. And we got to see during all this, then they're fighting the rift. Keyleth becomes a fire elemental to shut the rift, which visually was stunning, the way that they did that. And like this breakthrough moment for her character.
Do you know what it gave big energy of? Do you remember in this is a fucking throwback here?
Oh shit.
Do you remember in X2, the second X-Men film, where Jean dies and gets taken over by the Phoenix Force?
Oh, yeah.
And you've got like that big kind of like energy bubble, and she's like,
yeah.
It had big kind of that visuals going on.
Yeah, it did. But yeah, it's like one of the first breakthrough moments, and it's essentially this is her completing her fire part of the Aramente, basically like approving herself of her powers, and she shuts the rift. Vax giving her staff back was a nice little callback to a line from season 1, and Scanlan gets his favor from Vex, which, as you're picking up on Scanlan's character, you do not want to owe Scanlan a favor.
No, like, you really don't.
He is going to pull that out at any moment that he wants. And if I remember correctly, it's such a great way that he uses it, and at such a great moment. So I'm looking forward to when that comes to fruition. Probably not till season 3.
Do you know what else the funny thing about this D&D campaign is? Like the storytelling aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Normally in a show, if you have a scumbag character like Scanlan, you have to make an effort to redeem them as a person.
Yes.
Just because of the way stories are written. Look at Howard in Big Bang Theory. He goes from being a creepy perv to being a loving husband. They don't have to do that, because if the person who's playing D&D is just like, no, my guy's going to be an arsehole, they were an arsehole for the entire campaign. You can't change that.
So, yeah, we're seeing it a little bit in the animated show of how they're portraying it. It's like, there's a moment where Scanlan makes a joke and Pike goes, "Can you never be genuine?" And it's this idea that, like, is everything always a joke with you, Scanlan? Like, he's clearly the character that hides everything in a joke in a way.
Yeah,
And through the live show, obviously that develops, and we'll see that in the animation over time. Like, his character does go through a development. He is still the charming, he will always be the charming, like, jokey character.
I
But
will sleep with
definitely,
everyone.
yeah, but definitely his he grows as a person would through all
Mm,
these, like, he does develop to be less of a scumbag and more just a charming, like, nice, like, guy. Obviously, D&D is a long campaign. Like, this happens over a lot longer of a time. For, like, people that watch the live show, that was over um 3 years. I think the campaign was going for 3 years. So it's like you're watching every episode, like it's a slow burn for his
yeah.
character. So I'm looking forward to, like, as you, like, you're bringing it up, like seeing that in the anime is going to be interesting. Um,
Um, and then we had our second Sphinx.
yes, which mirroring the live game, this was a puzzle. It was very differently played out, and this time we actually got a Sphinx and had like an actual um kind of a fight sort of action thing, which I'm all for them changing things in this way, like to make it more entertaining for the animation side.
It didn't feel like it was changed, if that
No,
makes sense. It still fit in perfectly.
yeah, yeah.
So as long as they're going to be, I guess, surgical is the right word with it. So they're just going to change stuff when they absolutely have to make it flow.
Hmm.
I don't think it's an issue. Um,
Um,
as a
yes,
viewer, I didn't go, "Oh, that feels a bit out of
yeah,
place."
no, they're like this. Obviously, Matt's the one writing, so everything's gonna flow perfectly. Like, even if they change stuff, like it's gonna be unnoticeable. It's like, but I'm all for them tweaking things because it's also another positive to it is like for people that have watched the live show, it makes this even more interesting because we're like, "Ooh, this is new. Like, this is something that like this hasn't happened. This is cool." So it's like getting to see like a whole new like bit of the story. Um, so yeah, we get to see this how everyone tries to like make the Sphinx feel pain as you would by hitting it.
No,
Um,
you. I'm telling you, you just hurl insults at it until it cries.
yeah, you use a spell named Vicious Mockery, which the first take of this I explained is there's a spell where you can hurl an insult and roll to do damage.
The song was such a banger. Like, had
The,
no need to go that hard.
oh,
No need.
the song was great, written by Sam, sung by Sam. Obviously, you had the voice of the female Sphinx as well.
Yeah.
Um, that song was great, amazing song for someone who's a voice actor. Like, he has just a great voice on him, does Sam Riegel, and he succeeds. We also saw in that moment of like Grog what would happen if he didn't feed, like it withered his arm to kind of show him this is what I can do. I can take from you. Grog starting now to be like, oh shit, this sword is maybe not great for me. Maybe this is a bad sword.
Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he isn't like me and just likes killing stuff. Maybe he's like worse.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
maintain, just get rid of the fucking sword.
yeah, but a big strong sword make big strong man stronger.
He is a big, strong man. He can punch stuff until he finds another weapon.
um, and so Scanlan succeeds, song's amazing, and he earns himself Myth Carver. Now, he also has a vision. He sees a
Yeah.
bow, which is a vestige. Shocker. Who's that for? Vex. And we see gauntlets that are currently on a Grog's uncle.
Is it Grog's uncle?
Yes. So Grog knows of that item. He has seen that item before. For those, I don't know if it's very well explained yet in the animation, but essentially Grog left his tribe because he didn't agree. Goliaths are very think Dothraki. Oh, you haven't seen Game of Thrones. Just oof. Think like barbarian, like rough, like brutal, pillage things. They just move on as a tribe, pillage another place. Like that's the Goliath life. So Grog left that because he didn't agree with it.
Got ya.
So definitely some family things that he doesn't want to face. And then while they're all waking up and having a good old time, we have the black dragon, I forget its name, rocks up, has found them, and we get a big old, now the Sphinx is really feeling pain.
That Sphinx on Dragon Fight scene was so awesome, but I've
Oh,
got to say, the Dragon's opening line of "Aren't you supposed to be extinct?" goes so fucking hard.
yeah. It was such a good, like, visual fight to watch, like, a Sphinx and a dragon, like, these two huge mythical creatures, like, just fighting it out. It was brutal. And then it ends with Myth Carver getting stolen. So there's a lot of theories as to what, because this doesn't happen in the live show. This is all different. Um, People are theorizing Matt's changed this because Sam never really used Myth Carver. He got this vestige, and I think
I've
he
just
used
never
it.
used it.
He used it like once,
Okay.
because he would use his spells all the time. He never would stab things. So everyone's like, "This is Matt getting back at Sam because he never used it." So in the animated show, he's like, "You know what? I'm just gonna yoink it back off you," which it could be. It could also, I think it's just like Matt making the story flow a bit better. But yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, this is just Matt getting back at Sam for not using this cool item he came up with." Um,
Fair enough. If you're not going to use it, I'm going to fucking take it off you.
exactly. And then we also Grog, full of rage, fighting, and fueled by the thirst from the sword. Um, Pike goes to stop him and gets stabbed. Um, Meanwhile, Keyleth's trying to do a teleportation spell, and as they're all about to leave, they get hit, which is what causes them to split because it fucks up the spell. It
Yeah.
succeeds, but like in a messed up way.
So
Um,
it looks like, although we only see where Keyleth and Co end up, which is the really goofy looking
Feywild,
place. Yeah.
yes,
We didn't see where the other half landed,
no,
but I think it's the safe and logical assumption to assume they landed near the other location we saw from the vestige, which will be where the barbarian or the Goliaths have just been through, or where they currently
I
are, or
can't
nearby.
remember off the top of my head. Obviously they definitely landed in the Feywild, and they end up meeting up. So something, and that's where the episode ends.
Yes.
So Grog ended up kind of living out part of his nightmare, of which I will say also something to go back to that nightmare. Obviously, they all voice that, like the scream that Ashley does as Pike when like Grog stabbed her in the nightmare was just like
Yeah, it's
brutal.
rough.
Something as well, though, obviously they've been doing interviews as these episodes have been coming out. During the live show, this is when Ashley Johnson was filming for Blind Spot, which was a TV show. So there was a
Yeah.
lot of time she wasn't there for weeks. And because it was a live show, like she was happy with them to keep playing. If she could, she'd like video call in and play, or sometimes she just wouldn't, and Matt would run them, or like the other guys would like play her character for her. Her and Matt have been having fun because for her, doing this animated show is actually letting her, in a way, rewrite Pike's story a little bit
Yeah.
because they worked around the fact she wasn't there. So Matt did what he had to do to make it work, and like they just worked around it and worked it into the story the best they could. This allows them like full freedom to like actually write it out in a way that they want it to go and make some tweaks to what happens to her character and different things. So I think there's a few little things have been changed, but actually it's been enjoyable to see like Pike's character more feel like, because she wasn't like, so the games where they would play her, obviously she's there, but you don't feel like she was there because she's not there playing a character. You kind of forget that, oh yeah, Pike's there with them. Um, it's fun to have like get to feel that the whole group was there through these moments. And then we're getting 3 more episodes today as you're listening to this, and
Yeah.
it's gonna it's gonna be good. I'm trying to think ahead now. I know there's gonna be a shenanigan with the broom,
Yeah.
because Vex has to learn how to use it, and there's a very funny moment, like typical D&D party fucking about together, and someone rolls badly, and different things happen. Feywild, if I remember rightly, Grog has another funny interaction moment, and we might also see some beard shenanigans, which I talked about last week and we haven't yet had.
Yeah.
There is definitely beard and prank shenanigans that do happen, and I'm waiting to see some of them be involved. So looking forward to these next 3 episodes.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm loving it so much. I'm so down to try and get a D&D group going.
Yeah.
Now that we've had Hori's turn to be an expert, it's my turn to be an expert. DC Slate is finally here, bitches.
Yes. Finally, we've had some official reveal.
I was refreshing Twitter so aggressively that I quote retweeted James Gunn's tweet within 17 seconds asking people's opinions for a 6-minute long video.
Jeez. You were not hanging about with that.
No, 100%. I hadn't even clicked on the video yet. I saw what it was, I quote retweeted it, and then I went back and watched it. So there's some big information here.
Yes.
And we're gonna go through it and then we'll give our opinions on it.
Okay.
So first of all, we know that Phase 1, Chapter 1 of the DCU is titled Monsters and Gods.
Yes.
There are 5 films and 5 TV shows confirmed as of right now for Phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
The films are Superman Legacy, The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, Swamp Thing.
Mm.
TV shows are Creature Commandos, which is going to be animated, Waller, Booster Gold, Lanterns, and Paradise Lost.
Yes.
Going forward, anything that is DC, but not in the DCU, so your Matt Reeves Batman, your Todd Phillips Jokers, is going to be considered Elseworlds, just like it is in the comics, which makes complete sense and is a very sensible way to label it.
Yes. 100%.
James Gunn said that his plans were for characters to move through animated and live action projects within the DCU with the goal of actors voicing their characters.
Yes.
Now, at the beginning, he said he wants animated, live action, and video games to all coexist, but there's no video game discussion in the entire thing. He doesn't mention them other than saying he wants them to be included. So I assume part of the I want actors to voice themselves in animated stuff also covers video games.
Yes. I think there's nothing mentioned. I think more so that's more a plan to the future. And also, like, these characters getting set in stone, whoever acts these different characters. Video games, we've seen the world of video games and how often they get pushed back, or like ideas come up and then they get scrapped, or different things. I don't think there's ever going to be a set video game that is like, this has to happen and tie into the story. It'll be more, okay, this DC game is coming up in this year, or we're going to be making this DC game. It's got these characters. Can we please have the actors and somewhat of their likeness modeled in?
Yeah.
So that it coexists. And
if
going
done right,
forward,
it makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's why there's not really mention of video games after he first says it, but that's probably because there's no like planned stuff.
There's no news, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of these projects and the information we have about them so far.
Yes.
So Superman Legacy is the reboot of the Superman character.
Mm-hmm.
And James Gunn did say it is the real start of his DCU.
Yes.
It is slated to come out July 25, but some of the shows are due to come out before it.
Okay.
So the information we kind of already know is that the character of Superman is due to be about 25 years old in Superman Legacy. He will already be working at the Daily Planet. He's already in Metropolis, and he's trying to balance being half Kryptonian and half human in his eyes.
Yes.
Sounds very interesting.
Sounds exactly like what we thought it'd be.
Then we've got the Authority. I don't know a lot about the Authority. I'm going to do some reading up to discuss them at a later date, but they are an ensemble of characters who, by the sounds of it, have like really detailed powers.
Okay.
So like one example I saw is one of them is like just like they are like generic super powerful, but the
Right.
bit that makes them really like unique is they draw their power from the people of the city.
Okay.
So if they're too far away from the city, they're weaker.
Right.
So like stuff like that. And by the sounds of it, they might not be all good in the sense of they believe in doing what's right, but the ends justify the means for them. So maybe they go a bit
Yes.
too far with certain things, which could be an interesting take.
Yeah, I get the sense they're going to be a very like neutral thing of like we do what we think is right, whether anyone else does or not. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Then you've got The Brave and the Bold, which is
Yes.
going to be a Batman and Robin film.
Yes.
And the big takeaway from that is Damian Wayne is going to be the Batman. It's going to be the Robin, not the Batman. He's going to be the Robin, which has some discussion points that we will cover in a bit. But it's cool to see the Brave and the Bold name out there.
Yeah.
It's nice that we're going to get a Batman and Robin film.
Yes.
And I'm excited to see live action Damian. He's a very cool character. He's very different from the other Robins. But I do have a couple of concerns. Then we have Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is titled based on a comic run. That comic run has now sold out everywhere online since this announcement, by the way.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's fairly recent.
Fairly recent.
Because James Gunn mentioned it was like not long ago he read that comic and he loved it so much he was like, I want to make this.
Yeah. But the announcement of that being what's inspiring this film has caused it to sell out everywhere.
I'm not surprised at all.
But that is the tale of Supergirl. Obviously, she wasn't born on Earth. Not born. She didn't grow up on Earth like Superman. She grew up on Krypton and then had it ripped away from her.
Yes.
So she's a bit more of a jaded character. So it will be fun to see that. It's been described as a sci-fi adventure film, which I think could be very cool.
Yes.
And then we've got a Swamp Thing film. It's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be a bit horror-esque, I think, but we know very little about it so far.
They've said it's going to lean more into a horror theme.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they can't do any worse than the original film.
But if we take into consideration the Monsters and Gods title,
yes,
we've got our Gods with Superman, the Authority, and Supergirl. Because the Authority give that kind of they think they're gods because they're willing to do what they think is right and they don't care what anyone else thinks. Then we've got obviously Monsters with Swamp Thing. I'm going to make a very bold prediction off the rip.
Oh.
I think the Brave and the Bold is going to have Clayface as the villain.
Oh. Or does
that
it go like
Solomon
Scarecrow?
Grundy. Nah, he's not enough a monster. That's just a human with drugs.
Alright, fair. Yeah.
For me, but my super early bold prediction before the script is even written is they're going Clayface or Solomon Grundy.
If this happens, James Gunn, thank you for the view. We appreciate you.
Then we've got our TV shows.
Yes.
Creature Commandos, which is apparently is already written. There is going to be 7 episodes. It is animated. It's monsters, but it's like Suicide Squad monsters. Is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got.
Yeah. Weasel, who was in James Gunn's Suicide Squad film, is returning in this.
Oh, okay. Cool.
The others I don't know that much about. It looks like there's Frankenstein's monster and Frankenstein's wife.
Okay.
A couple of characters I don't know a lot about, but yeah, they're kind of like a monstery Suicide Squad.
Cool.
We're then going to have a Waller live action show that covers Amanda Waller. That comes under the Gods thing as far as I'm concerned, because she does play God.
It's also going to be set between season 1 and season 2 of Peacemaker.
And the Peacemaker team are set to appear.
Right.
Then we've got one of the things that made me most excited. Booster Gold.
Who we have done a character profile on.
We have done a character profile on Booster Gold because we are on the fucking button over here.
We're the inside scoop.
Bro. And as well as the fact that James Gunn made it very clear that they're going to tackle the concept of imposter syndrome for superheroes, which is Booster Gold's entire thing. He was obsessed with superheroes in the future. he stole a bunch of technology and then he accidentally got shifted to the past where that technology now allows him to act as a hero.
Yes.
So in his head, he's still not a hero because he couldn't be a hero in his time, but
Yeah.
he's trying to be a hero in this time because he now has the ability to be. If done right, it'll be a fucking masterpiece, and
Yeah, it'll be
it's a
great.
really quirky character like the Guardians that James Gunn managed to turn into fucking household names.
Yes. Very true.
So I'm very, very excited for that. Another one that I'm very excited for, which shouldn't have really been a surprise because we knew they were working on it and we knew it was just getting tweaked as a result of James Gunn coming into power.
Yeah, this is true.
But now we know it's definitely still happening. Lanterns TV show starring Hal Jordan and I forgot the name. Alex Stewart? No, John Stewart. But he described it as a detective thriller, like True Detective.
Yeah, like a more of a
which I think is
detective
going to be
thing.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, the idea
The Lanterns are
doing...
space cops.
Yeah.
Let them be space cops.
So we're essentially going to get space cops.
Yeah, and clearly he made it pretty obvious that whatever the big mystery they're investigating is going to be relevant to the overarching story of the first few phases.
Yeah. So
that'll be good.
I definitely think that means that's going to lead up to a Lanterns film in phase 2.
100%. And then Paradise Lost.
Yes.
Which is going to be set on Themyscira, which is the island Wonder Woman is from.
Yes.
Long before Wonder Woman is born.
And it's going to be
it's going to be more of a it's going to be covering like the politics of how a woman-only island is run.
Well, I get the sense that there was other tribes on the island.
Yeah, but I think it'll be about how them tribes interact. They're all still women only, I believe.
Oh, yeah. So it'll be very like the fact that he mentioned it's Game of Thrones-esque definitely makes me think it's going to be some brutal fights. They're not going to hold back on, and definitely this whole like push and pull of wars and who's like at tensions with each other and like political like war tensions. So it could be very interesting.
I think it is safe to say that if you got bored of the MCU because it felt a bit cut and paste, that James Gunn wants to make the DCU a bit different and try and hit themes a bit more.
Yes.
Now, whether that works or not is a whole different discussion, but they're trying stuff. And when DC has failed so spectacularly in live action of recent,
you can only ask
let James cook.
Yeah, you've got to let him try these things. And I mean, especially like this is sort of the Lanterns things was already kind of in the works. Waller makes sense because it's like tying into a character we already have seen a few times and pulls into these shows.
And it also makes it very clear that James Gunn is not getting rid of his Suicide Squad or his Peacemaker, which Amanda Waller was a big part of both.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, fuck you, I'm taking something, Zack Snyder.
And then it's like, Paradise Lost, when you think about it, HBO made Game of Thrones and House of Dragons. Like, they know what the fuck they're doing with shows like that style. Like, if they can just take that essence and put it into a DC scenario, I think it'll work great. The films, I mean, Superman's what we kind of predicted it was going to be.
He was always going to launch off with Superman. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Henry Cavill know straight away he was no longer Superman.
And then I think the idea of doing like the Authority and Supergirl and Swamp Thing, kind of these other, not your typical starter characters, should we say?
Yeah.
Is smart, kind of leads us into like, allows these other characters to get like a fresh look and people be introduced to them. And then obviously we got Brave and the Bold, which I'm excited for us to have a like Batman and Robin film again.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be good.
It'll be good. It's definitely going to be good. But now on to my couple of concerns.
Yes.
And I think it would be remiss of us to not discuss these.
Of course.
And actually, one of these is something that we had on the schedule to talk about a couple of weeks ago, but I viewed it as something we could discuss at any time. So I shelved it for a little while. So first and foremost, HBO Max is where all of the TV shows are going to go.
Yes, because it is owned partly by Warner Brothers.
Yeah. HBO is currently, I don't think, is available anywhere outside of the US. It might be US and Canada.
Yeah, HBO's own platform.
Yeah, and as of a month ago, they have no plans to expand. Now,
So,
we have at least a year until Creature Commandos is good to go.
yes.
So that does give them time
To
put a plan in place. And if James Gunn is saying that Superman Legacy is the real start of his DCU, that's 18 months.
Yeah.
So that does give them time to change these plans. But if they don't, the DCU is still going to be a failure as a connected universe, because how the fuck are we supposed to sit here and take it seriously when Green Lantern, Booster Gold, Waller, and Themyscira are geo-locked to America only?
So here's my thought on this. Because obviously some of the HBO shows we can watch through Now TV. Well, that's how you watch Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, they're all HBO. If they're not gonna bring HBO Max and like if they're not gonna try and capitalize on having people use their platform, they need to make sure that all of this is available through like Now TV and make it very clear that like for the UK through advertisement, whatever, like they need to be like, this is on HBO Max and Now TV, so that people go, oh, I can get this stuff on Now TV and sign up for
I
that.
do get what you're saying, but the problem's actually bigger than that, because very fairly, you're thinking about what about us? But if they go down that route of they negotiate Now TV for us, either other countries get fucked, or they have to negotiate them individual deals with someone in each country.
That's yeah, don't get me wrong. That's the issue they're going to put themselves in. I think if they don't roll out HBO Max and try and lock everyone into their own platform, they're going to have the issue of, if they want people to see this, they need to put it on Now TV or whatever platform in each country.
It has to be available.
It's a bigger thing for them to take on, and more deals have to be made, and that's like less money in their pockets essentially. So I actually think because this has been well received, I do think there's going to be discussions now between the fact that they want to do this and HBO, and what can they do to get HBO Max out into these other countries.
Well, the thing is, part of James Gunn's big fucking vision is he wants to be more connected than the MCU even is, with video games, animated, live action, actors voice acting their animated counterparts, and it's all one big fucking happy family.
Yes.
That only works if you go the whole hog and everyone has access to everything.
Yeah. Yeah, if you are going to have important story arcing stuff that goes through the TV shows, look at the issues in Marvel. Even though everything is connected, you still have people that haven't watched all the shows and have missed out on things in the films. Imagine that without Disney Plus. Imagine Disney Plus was locked to America. Like, you'd watch some of the Marvel films that came out and be like, what the fuck's going on? Like, you'd have zero clue. And like, you have no way to watch it. So,
and while I would never condone pirating content normally, if the only way you can view content is to pirate it, fuck them.
Yeah, especially
just
if you want
I don't
us to
agree
understand.
with pirate. Yeah, and I don't like with video games is a big one. I don't agree with pirating video games. But if there is no way for you to buy the video game anymore, pirate it. It's the exact same thing. If they're going to make it impossible for you to give, I don't pirate stuff because I'm too lazy to. I just won't watch it.
Yeah.
But I will more than happily pay for it as long as I can.
Yeah, it's that it's like people will pay for convenience.
100%.
So
I mean, a bunch of people are going to be cancelling their Netflix subscription soon with Netflix's new shitty ideas. So I mean, they'll have the money.
Yeah, like I think I would be shocked if HBO doesn't roll out into these other countries. I am imagining they have some, because they have a deal with Now TV. Maybe that needs to end. That maybe there's a contract time on that, and they're waiting for that to end before they can announce that, oh yeah, we're going to roll out to the UK. Because otherwise there's a conflict there. Like if they're selling it to Sky, but then which Sky and Now TV are essentially the same thing. It's like if they're selling it to them and then they bring out their own platform, obviously people aren't going to be happy. So yeah, hopefully that gets rectified, and hopefully that's something that's been worked on.
Yeah. The other thing, more content related, that I'm concerned about,
Yes,
is Batman: The Brave and the Bold. Damian as Robin, while it is fun, it poses a huge risk of backing you into a narrative corner.
Okay.
So Damian is the fourth Robin.
Yes.
He is the child of Talia al Ghul and Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like 13 years old, 11 years old, when Bruce finds out he exists.
Okay.
If we say that Bruce became Batman at 19 and he got Talia pregnant in his first year of being Batman, which seems hard to believe anyway, realistically, the youngest you can have Batman for Damian to be cutting about is 30.
I see what you mean.
So instantly, you're putting a shelf life on how long Batman's going to be Batman for, as well as, unless you change a lot of stuff, getting rid of Jason Todd or skipping over the phenomenal storytelling ability you have with Jason Todd, losing Dick Grayson and becoming Nightwing, and for the Tim Drake lovers, you lose out on Tim Drake as well. So you either cut them out completely, or you just jump straight into the entire Bat fam cutting about, at which point, while a lot of people know most of the Bat fam because they are so commercially successful, you are still going to have people going, who the fuck is that guy?
See, that's where my brain went, was like, okay, if you're going to jump to Damian, in a way, it allows you the ability to go, oh, here's Nightwing. He was a Robin for a bit, but now he's like already past that. But I see what you mean about, like, you're instantly putting an age on your Batman, which, I mean, maybe this is what James Gunn wants. Maybe James Gunn has a plan that, like, he wants, like, he has a plan ahead.
The only acceptable plan is that James Gunn is trying to speedrun us to Batman Beyond. If he wants to come out and tell me, oh yeah, phase 2 is Batman Beyond, I'm in. All in. Sold. Go for it.
Maybe it is.
Sign Hurry Up as Batman. He's old enough.
He, like, because James Gunn, it's like, said he's going to be doing things different. Like there could be some plan there that, like, this does make sense. But I do think you're right. Like, it's a risky path we're on with that.
When Batman is, I think, and maybe, I think it's debatable. I think Batman is the only hero who fights with Spider-Man for the most famous superhero of all time. People are gonna go, "Oh no, that's Superman." Bullshit, is it? Look at Google Analytics. People search for Spider-Man and Batman more than anyone else, and it's not fucking close. And I think at times Batman's been bigger than Spider-Man. Right now, that's not the case.
No.
And I think just burning Batman really quickly is a bad idea. But I am also aware that Matt Reeves is focusing on a younger Batman. Do you want two young Batmans at the same time?
I mean, younger Superman. You said
no. Matt Reeves is doing Batman.
Oh, Matt Reeves. Sorry, I thought you were on about.
Matt Reeves is already doing his Batman films, which is a young. So maybe the thought process, well, we don't want two young Batmans.
Yeah.
But I would make the argument you can have a 26-year-old Bruce Wayne who's still older than a year one Batman. Like, I know ages they might not be different, but stages of their career they're different. And you can have Dick Grayson as Robin.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, like, Matt Reeves' Batman 2 is gonna start. We talked about that back when the film came out. Like, the second one, will we have a Robin in it?
I don't think we will now.
But no, well, we could though, because if we're skipping the first Robins, like, that leaves those stories to be told in Matt Reeves in a way.
It does. It does. Not wrong.
Like, the way my brain just went was like, oh well, we could just get Nightwing off the rip, and we don't, like, we can have some of that. But then I get your point of, like, we're missing out on a lot of that character building that
My Nightwing off the rip isn't as big a concern for me because I think Dick Grayson as Nightwing is a good enough character that you can just let them run from the offset. My bigger concern is missing out again on live action Jason Todd. One
Yeah,
of the most famous comic book arcs that even non comic book fans are aware of is the Joker killing Jason Todd. To throw that storytelling ability away because I really like Damian Wayne, I respect James Gunn, and I'm going to give him a bit of leeway here. If this was DC just announcing this as their next couple of films, I'd probably be a lot more angry. There is a huge concern for that, in my opinion, and
I
anxious. Not the right word. It's not that deep. I'm concerned about how it could play out.
just wonder if there's maybe he has some plan to like although this is Damien as Robin, maybe there's some reference to a past interaction with the Joker that led to I don't yeah. I guess then that's just still glossing it. It's one of those. There must be some plan that James Gunn has long term for this Batman. We're
Mm-hmm.
just not seeing it off the rip.
The like I said, the only thing that really makes it, so I know I said it as a bit of a joke, is maybe he's more interested in telling more Batman Beyond stories.
Possibly.
So maybe he's willing to start Batman a bit older. Yeah, I mean, even if Batman is like 35, you can still squeeze another 10 years out of Batman, so that's not a huge issue, and then you get to go to Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how it plays out, and I'm not 100% sold on that as an idea. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm super excited that Green Lantern's finally getting a shot at redemption.
Yep.
And I
Same.
think telling a detective space cop story is a great idea. After that slate, Matt Reeve confirmed that October 2025 is when Batman 2 is coming out. Batman Part 2. And all he did was quote retweet the news that it was coming out in October and went, crime thriller in block capitals. So I think it's safe to say he's been given creative freedom once again. Because these are Elseworlds. And this is the good thing about Elseworlds stories as well. James Gunn can go, okay, we've got room for some Elseworlds films. I like your creative style. What character do you want to do? Oh, you want to do a Green Arrow in your style? Go for it. I'm not going to hamper you. Depending on how marketable we think your script is, might control your budget slightly.
Yeah.
We're going to give you complete creative freedom.
Elseworlds gives that freedom of this is a cool DC character, doesn't fit into the DCU really, or there isn't like an easy way to like write this character in, or it's like a bit too out there. Oh, you have a really cool concept though for a script and idea for a story just on that. Sure, you can do it as an Elseworlds.
And the Elseworlds label is already relatively well known and is very clear. It's Elseworlds, it's different worlds. I think that is one of the best ways to not confuse fans, which is what we said. If they want to have they need to have a nice, easy way to not confuse fans. Elseworlds is perfect. For them people who want to watch the occasional superhero film, but don't want to have to watch 12 TV shows and 16 movies, Elseworlds might be perfect.
Yeah, I think the biggest commit in the Elseworld stuff is going to be Matt Reeves' Batman ones.
Yeah.
They're going to be the most tied together. Yeah, great. I think that's a great thing for them.
But overall, I do think it was a very good slate.
Yes.
And while there were some things that made me nervous, overall, I'm excited for every single one of them projects. Either because I know what the upside potential is, or it's brand new and I know very little about it, which means I get to just be a fan again. Which I know it sounds stupid because obviously I'm a fan because I watch all this stuff. But when you care about it this much, you tend to overanalyze it because I don't know a lot about them. I get to just go into them raw.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be good. Would you like to pick a favorite of the 10 projects, that you're most excited for?
If
you're struggling, feel free to go for a film and a show.
No, I think honestly, I think favorite is going to be the Lanterns.
You reckon?
Yeah, I just think that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think film-wise, I'm stuck between Swamp Thing and Supergirl. I think they have the largest upside potential.
Yeah, I get you.
TV shows, I'm really torn between Booster Gold and Lanterns. I love the Green Lanterns. They're
be
so much cool lore. But Booster Gold is someone I've backed for a while that could be huge in mainstream, so I feel a need to stick with them.
Yeah, I get you.
Either way, going to be dumb lit. And if this goes right, we're going to be eating so good as nerds for a number of years to come.
Yeah, like if this James Gunn does this right, like DC is going to be on its redemption arc, and it's going to be great for the nerds.
And I just want to throw this out there, peeps. James Gunn is one of the biggest advocates for a live action Marvel DC crossover.
And he has connections there, so let's hope this goes well.
The only thing holding him back is DC right now won't put the butts in the seats the way the Marvel film will.
No.
So James Gunn needs a few years, to still tell a story and not just go for a cash grab, which is what that film would be.
Also, it's like, let's be realistic. If he went to Marvel with it, Marvel's going to go, you're not in it. Like, if anything, we're just helping you out because you're struggling on your own. Like, this doesn't benefit us in any way. So DC needs to get on its own 2 feet so that they can be like, look, this is good for both of us. Let's have some fun.
10 years time, we might have a genuine shot at this.
Yeah, we might.
Anyway, time to move on to the Nerd News Network.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest with you, Hori. That first point, I'm too tired. We're just going to cut it out because there's a lot of stuff to cover in that.
Fair.
We'll either not discuss it or discuss it next week when more of that drama is fueled a little bit, I think.
Okay.
So Vision season 2 is coming on May the 4th. I love it. I love that Star Wars content team always drops something on May the 4th.
Yeah,
it makes that day so much more special.
They've like fully embraced it, and I love it.
They know it is like a nerd holiday, and they're like, "Shit, bro, have some new Star Wars content."
But yeah, we got the studios announced. So season 1 of Visions was all anime studios, all traditional, like actual anime studios,
and they were all phenomenal episodes.
They really were. Season 2, they've announced the studios, and quick run over the list. Yes. There's no repeats, so this is complete new set of studios,
which I really like.
Yeah, and do you know what my initial reaction to that was? Have you watched Love, Death and Robots on Netflix?
I watched like the first 2 episodes, I think.
Okay, so the Love, Death and Robots was started by a VFX animation studio, and they came up with the idea of like each episode is essentially a short, and like one of those animated shorts that we used to get years ago, like all the time. And basically just went to each studio and be like, this is kind of the story idea we were going for. We think you'd be great to like, so each studio gets to put their style on it. That's what Love, Death and Robots is. It's just a bunch of short stories, all done by studios in different styles to essentially showcase that industry and what they're capable of. This is now giving me big Love, Death and Robot vibes in this way of Star Wars is like, wait, Visions was a really big success and everyone loved seeing Star Wars and all these styles. People are loving Love, Death and Robots and getting to see all these different like studio styles. Why don't we just do that with the Star Wars universe and give it to as many different studios as we can and like let them run wild with it, and we get to showcase all these amazing VFX and animation studios.
100%.
So I ran through them all.
Yeah.
We got Cartoon Saloon, who looking at their stuff is typical animated cartoon style. I think that'll be very cool. Punk Robot look like they do a lot of potentially stop motion stuff in there.
Oh, okay. Stop motion Star Wars lightsaber fights could be fucking insane.
You've got Mir Studio, MIR. They're Korean based, an anime studio. So Korean anime. That should be really cool. Another one back in the anime style. I'm so down for. Then we've got the big name, Aardman. Everyone will know from the creators of Wallace and Gromit. So that's again going to be stop motion.
It's like claymation.
Yeah, claymations.
I know they're going to take it seriously and not just make it a Wallace and Gromit joke, but I really want someone to have like a cheese-colored lightsaber.
There's going to be some little hint in there, and I think they'll be okay with that.
It'll be like an Easter egg in the background of the scene instead of being in your face.
But I'm loving this, like, that we're getting cartoon, stop motion, anime, claymation. You've got Triggerfish that, and obviously Aardman is UK based.
hmm
Obviously Mir was Korean. The other two, I'm not so sure. Triggerfish is South African
Cartoon
based.
Saloon, I'm pretty sure, is Kilmarnock Island.
Oh, okay. Triggerfish is a South African based like 3D animation, like your typical 3D animation. Um, you've got Dart, which is a Japanese anime studio. So we're gonna get Korean anime style and Japanese anime style. So we've got a couple of anime ones still in there. La Cachette is Paris based. They have a very like hand drawn style, and they've done an episode of Love, Death and Robots.
Oh, okay.
So they understand that kind of premise of one off, sort of in your style. So I think they'll have fun with it. You've got 88, which is an Indian based studio. They've done some stuff with DreamWorks. So if you think DreamWorks style,
Okay. I'm
it'll,
down for that.
yeah, DreamWorks style Star Wars, I think will be very cool. And then you got El Guri.
Shrek Sith.
Um, I couldn't find much on El Guri. They seem their
They are the
website, whether
wild
they're,
card.
yeah, they're the wild card. Whether the website wasn't working or not, I'm not sure. But all of them from all over the world, lots of different places of the world. Seems like they've really gone, you know what, we're going to find studios like globally and showcase talents from everywhere, and also showcase as many different styles this time around, which I'm super excited for. I think Aardman's the one I'm most excited for. It's going to just be really cool.
It's going to be quite weird to see what is known to a lot of people as the Wallace and Gromit style
Yes.
for Star Wars. I think it's going to be awesome, but it's going to take a second to go, oh, this feels weird.
This
But
isn't
that's what Vision should be.
Yeah.
Challenging that perception of how you view the Star Wars universe.
100%. And I'm all for Visions turning into like a Love, Death and Robot style thing where they do a season, it's like every time it's a different studio, and it's allowing these people to do non-canon. It's not canon, so there's no worry there. They can do whatever they want.
You can do your silly light umbrella lightsaber thing.
Like there's gonna be some really creative stuff and story-wise come out of this, and it just, on top of all the good Star Wars stuff we're getting, like it's just another thing that like is actually a really great thing they've decided to start doing. So yeah, I'm all for more of this.
Yep. Next up, Hulu show Hitmonkey, that was a Marvel show. It's getting a second season, but it's no longer under the Marvel umbrella.
Interesting.
So I get the feeling Marvel have gone, we don't want a second season of that. And Hulu have gone, do you care if we still do a second season? And they're like, yeah, but we're not footing the bill. And they're like, sweet, well, we're not putting your name on it then.
Fair.
That's the only thing that really makes sense to me. I did watch the first couple of episodes because anything that's on Hulu, I think is on Disney Plus over here. Because Hitmonkey was definitely on Disney Plus. That's how I watched it.
Yeah.
I don't know if everything Hulu's on Disney Plus in the UK.
Some of it is.
Or if they've sold Hulu stuff to other sites that what's left is on Disney Plus.
I get you.
Because Hulu is owned by Disney.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just an interesting bit of news that I don't think I've ever seen something that comes under a brand's banner just get a second season, but no longer be that brand's anymore.
I wonder if it was like under the Marvel banner, but like because they weren't sure, and it's like, well, it's technically under Marvel, so we'll just put Marvel on it, but it's not connected. And now they're having this issue of like, there's so many shows they're bringing out, they don't want shows that aren't part of the MCU getting confused and mixed in. So like, well, we don't want it anymore, or like, sure, go make it, but it can't be under the Marvel. It might even have been like Marvel was like, sure, make a second season, but this is no longer part of Marvel. Like, it's its own thing if you want it to be.
Yeah. Next, Hori, do you think you've got 3 more years of this podcasting you?
Honestly, I don't know if I've got 3 more years in me. No.
Because 2025 is going to be fucking wild. Listen to this.
Yeah,
we've got an Avengers film.
Yep.
The new Superman, Batman Part 2, Fantastic Four, Star Wars, and a sequel to the recent horror film mega success Megan. as well as 2 more untitled Marvel movies that are on the schedule for 2025, with one of the favourites for them being the next Spider-Man film.
That's
That is
wild.
wild. Batman, Superman, Avengers, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man all in the space of a year. This is forgetting the fact that we might have another season of Rings of Power by then.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck knows what might be going on with the Vox Machina and other Critical Role shows by then. We might literally just be sitting here recording a podcast 24/7. 3-hour episodes. Yeah, we just log on in the morning, we hit go live on the cutscene channel, and just as more shit gets released, we just do live watch parties.
It's 2025 is going to be a wild year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like some of those are going to get pushed back. Like there's no way
there will be a
all
couple
that
of them. So we need to remember that Superman and Batman are very
separate.
likely to get delayed.
Yeah, but it is the
Because
Batman that's Matt Reeves, so
yeah, but they've given firm dates on them to nearly 3 years in advance.
True. I think Batman. Well, no, I actually think Superman is the most likely to actually be that year.
100%. That's most likely to not get moved at all. Batman is more likely to just fall back a little bit.
Yeah.
And then 2 untitled Marvel movies are likely to move as well, potentially.
Yeah.
But if that does stay that stacked, we need a sponsorship from a cinema soon.
That's on hell of a year of content. It really is.
100%. And that's before you even consider TV shows.
Yes.
That is purely arse in cinema watching stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, if Cineworld doesn't go bust by then, it might be time to invest in a unlimited card.
Just buy our own.
I don't. I would love to own a cinema so much. I've got this really weird niche dream of like through other means owning enough money, having enough money where I could run a cinema at a tiny loss and it not matter.
Yeah,
so that I can just create the nicest cinema experience. Reasonably priced popcorn, well-paid staff, and the films that we play are just the films that I care about seeing, and we just sell tickets. And if people turn up, they turn up.
So no Avatar 5.
No Avatar 5. No Avatar 5. No Fast and Furious 23.
Whoa, they're stopping at 12.
I don't believe them.
I do.
I don't.
They'll stop at 12 and then they'll do a spin-off.
Oh, yeah, valid.
Superhero Showdown. Yes. Finally.
Lex versus Killer Croc. I was so proud of myself because I went and came up with the advantage early.
Yes.
Hori, please tell me we are still recording.
We are still recording.
Okay, good.
I nearly was going to make a joke.
I did know.
And I thought, no, I don't want to because Connor might cry.
Should break down. Just fucking headset. Get put in a rage compilation. So my advantage is Lex. When I gave him as the highest seed, I think of Lex in his Battle War suit, which is why he has the higher seed. As well as the fact he deals with Superman, Killer Croc deals with Batman and loses. Killer Croc is not an A-tier villain for Batman. Lex Luthor is an A-tier villain for Superman. I think that's kind of enough to justify Lex being higher than Killer Croc in the rankings.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think the best advantage I can give Killer Croc is Lex has more of a basic bitch war suit, direct quote, instead of his OP ones.
Yeah, which I think is fair. Fair way to do it.
So I think a key thing to remember is Lex is just as smart as Bruce Wayne Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He's very well resourced and is used to fighting Kryptonians.
Yes.
So although he might not be as physically gifted in a fight as Killer Croc, he's not going to be scared by Killer Croc.
No, he's no.
He has this air of arrogance and confidence that he's just not going to be worried. Oh, you're a crocodile. Boom, robot arm. Don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Whereas Killer Croc is a bit more of like a... He's got like a wild animal element to him, which just is going to make him dense as fuck. He's just going to keep running at this guy, and he's going to get his head smashed in.
Yeah, it's.
I think he does do a fair bit of damage to the war suit over the course of the fight, because Killer Croc ain't going to go down easy.
No. I agree. I think, like you say, Killer Croc isn't anywhere near as intelligent as Lex, and is gonna bloodlusted is just gonna be like, I fucking bite and wail like, and he's gonna
gnaw at the suit and do damage to it, but
he's gonna fuck up parts of that suit, and Lex will, because it's not one of his more stronger ones, like it'll get damaged. He'll lose like some strength on some of it and whatnot. But I think overall, he's used to fighting against, like you say, Kryptonians, who also will wail on him while he's in his suit, and he will still pull through. And like his intelligence, he's gonna learn like, oh, Croc just keeps coming at me this way, then I just do this to counter it.
Yeah, 100%. It will get to a point where Killer Croc is just, I think it's more of a death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing. And the real question is, do we think the war suit holds up long enough to deal them 100 cuts? And I think it does just.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some scenarios where it doesn't, but I think overall, most of the time it does. Just sometimes he'll get done sooner than others, and like he'll be really fucked up. But
I'm in my head, I'm seeing like a 65-35 in favor of Lex.
Yeah, it's not quite like a 70 or 80%. It's like, yeah, it's majority of the time, but there's still plenty of times where he doesn't do it in time.
There's enough universes in which Lex's arrogance leads to Croc just mauling him like a rabid dog.
Yes.
But I don't think that happens often enough for us to give it to Killer. And just like that,
Lex is our winner.
Yeah, and just like that, we have our next entry in the next round of the DC villains portion of the bracket. And because he's the high seed, we now have our first semi-finalists in the two semi-finals of the DC bracket, with Raish on one side and Lex on the other.
Oh.
We have Grodd and Mr. Freeze and Mirrorman and Poison Ivy left.
Ooh, there's going to be some good ones.
Which is going to be very, very interesting.
It is.
But yeah, that is it from us this week.
Yes, just an absolute.
I am proud of us for this slog. This is probably what hour and 45-minute recording as of now, after already recording an hour. I'm proud of us.
What should have been like probably like this, an hour and 45, has turned into a more like 2-hour 45 due to technical difficulties.
Yeah. If you are proud of us, make sure you like and subscribe. Yes. We're very close to 300 subscribers. And everyone knows 300 is like half of 1 million.
Exactly. Definitely. 100% is that. And if you really want to know how we feel right now, go back and just listen just up to about halfway through the Vox Machina section, and then you'll have probably listened for as much as we recorded.
I'm just gonna go shit talk Corey on Twitter after this. It's gonna be great.
I'm gonna shit talk OBS.
This is the downfall of Cutscene Convos witnessing right now. This is the end. We will not see you next week.
My lawyers will be. Yeah, I'll be here as a recording. Just me.
Just talk. Just for the first 40 minutes next week. It's just going to be a picture of me, and then I'm just going to crop in like, "Oh, are we still recording? Okay, let's go."
Should be a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, thank you very much for hanging out. If you didn't already know, we're now video supported on Spotify.
Oh yeah.
So if you prefer your podcast on Spotify, but you also like the video, you could now have both of your dreams come true. You can watch and listen via Spotify. You are welcome. Make sure you review us over there and give us all of the stars. I think it's 5 on Spotify. It might be 10. I don't know.
If not, just hit the follow. That also helps.
Yeah. All of the buttons. Just press all of the buttons, and unless it says report, just keep pressing. I'm sure good things will happen.
Yes.
We'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Take care. Goodbye.
See you next week.